What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Down South Packers podcast with me, your host. And today we have my guy Eddie back on the channel, back to talk about some Packers football. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about some players that we think need to have a big training camp headed into the season. Training camp's about 2.5 weeks around the corner. Getting close to football, guys. So, Eddie, thank you for joining us.
What's going on, Anthony? How are we doing today? Are you getting
great.
excited? Football's
Great,
in
man.
Can you feel in the air, in the
I
heat
can.
outside? You can feel the football in the
humidity.
heat. That's it.
The humidity and the mosquito bites that I'm getting
excited.
from,
Love it.
from going outside every 10 minutes.
Makes
Mosquitoes
you drink
love
more
me.
beer.
Yeah. They seem to love whenever I eat bad. The mosquitoes like to bite me a little more. And with that, it's obviously we know we're getting closer to football season because
More friendly.
It's hot. I'm happier. I was in Walmart just now. I saw a kid wearing a Jordan Love jersey, and I yelled, "Go Pack, go at him!"
He's inspiring the youth, Anthony. He's inspiring the youth.
Hope he wears it to school so that these kids know what team they need to support. If they're not football fans, go ahead and lock in and be a Packer fan.
You know, I hope that whatever school he goes to, like during recess or something, they have a dodgeball game, and he's on the other side's a Bears fan. He just rifles one right at him.
Bears fan?
You're right at him.
just obliterating Bears
A little bit of bully ball.
Yeah, that made me happy to see. That let me know football is almost here, guys. With that, we're super happy to be talking about training camp and some of the players that we think can take a big leap. Now, these guys that we're going to talk about today aren't necessarily players that had bad seasons last year. They could have, but these guys may have had their seasons cut short due to injury, or we feel like with the roles they have now and new schemes on the defensive side of the ball, or opportunities on the offensive side of the ball, whether it's offensive line, the receiver room that changed a lot with Romeo Doubs and Dontavian Wicks leaving. We have a lot of spots where players can progress and grow, and we're going to talk about some of those players we have some confidence in. Eddie, let me know a guy that you think needs to have a big training camp heading into this upcoming season.
You know, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. And first give a shout out to, Packers PR. I want Josh Jacobs. He's the first guy I'm thinking of. The Packers have already put him out on social media, so this shit is gone. It's done. Let's focus on football now. And because he, it wasn't that he had a bad year last year. It wasn't as good as the year in 24. And I can't remember where I heard it from, but it's like sometimes these good running backs have a good year, then a down year, and then a good year. And now we're going to be on Josh Jacobs' good year this year coming up. And I think he just needs to continue to take a leadership role and really understand how to run with this offensive line and whatever this different scheme is, and really have a get back season, and also help Marshawn Lloyd stay healthy. I know he took him under his wing last mini camp before he got, before Marshawn Lloyd got hurt. And it's just really exciting to think that if we can get Josh Jacobs to 24 with this offense now, when it comes to the weaponry on the receiving core with Tucker Kraft, as good as he is now coming back, I think it'll just be super exciting if we can get the Josh Jacobs of old back. And that's why I think he needs to not only to just reset kind of life and focus on football, but I think just for the organization too. The organization needs him to have a great training camp.
I'm with you on that. Josh Jacobs is a player that needs to have a good camp. Obviously, there's been a lot of noise around his name this offseason. And like you said, it seems like they're maybe coming out of the other side of it with the Packers social media team posted him. And we know the Packers social media team over the years, they're very quiet and kept. They've been a little more open here recently. And they wouldn't post a player in the way that they posted him being on the top 100 list if there were still some legal issues that were probably going to cause him to miss time this upcoming season. But to the football side of it that you kind of spoke on, I think the offense will need him early on. Like you said, Marshawn Lloyd, we're hoping that he can have a healthy camp and be ready to go. But on top of that, this offense is changing a lot. And if you could at least keep your running game stable, that's going to help out the passing game as they're going to work through some of the kinks they're going to have early on in the season, working with Christian Watson being a number 1, Matthew Golden being a 1B, we're hoping. Jayden Reed being a 2 to a 1C possibly, with how Jayden Reed plays really well with Jordan Love. Their connection's great. But to help that passing attack early on in the season, you need Josh Jacobs to go into this season on the right foot. Hopefully puts all the stuff behind him and can play football at the high level that we know he's capable of playing it at. And like you said, running backs have up and down years. Saquon Barkley a couple of years ago had one of the best running back seasons we'd ever seen. And then this past season, he took a dip. He was not as productive as he was the year before. I'm expecting the same kind of bounce back for Saquon because we know these backs are talented, and Josh Jacobs can help stabilize that running back room. Hopefully, again, we have Marshawn Lloyd there to kind of help him out with that. But Josh Jacobs is a huge name to look out for heading into this upcoming season.
And I really like what you said there about the receivers. Can we start like this, trademarked rumor? Because for years people said Packers have a bunch of number 3 receivers. I think let's start it now. We got 3 number 1 receivers now, Anthony.
Yeah.
We got 3 now. Because I agree. I think all 3 of those guys can step into a role. Because Jaden Reed, let's not forget, in his rookie year broke Sharp's record.
Yeah.
For in his rookie record, if Christian Watson can put 17 games together, he's going to have like 1,400 yards.
Easily.
That's just math. And then Matthew Golden, if he can play like a number 1 receiver or a first-round receiver, holy hell, we're never going to get stopped.
Yeah. I think it was Jason McCourty on Peter Schrager's podcast talking about receivers that he's looking forward to this upcoming season. Schrager said he's looking forward to Burton, and there's been a lot of Luther Burton chatter because Luther Burton's a really good receiver. I wouldn't have been upset if the Packers drafted him last year when they took Matthew Golden, but they took Matthew Golden, who obviously had all the physical skills. He ran crazy fast at the combine, and then the Packers draft him. He was very limited in his reps, which again, people were upset about. But if you look at the Packers and just their history and how they use their rookies don't get the same opportunities as guys who've been there for years. That's just how Green Bay does it. Fans should be used to it by now, but they're not. But we saw in the very limited sample size that Matthew Golden had last year, he was a very effective receiver. I thought he could have scored against the Browns probably if he keeps his feet in bounds, getting upfield to that pass Jordan Love had for him. But in the Bears game, he played great. He had a few big catches in that game. And then he obviously had the touchdown where I thought it sealed the game. I thought the Packers, despite all the miscues on special teams that game, were still going to be able to pull it out and get a stop. Obviously, that didn't happen. The Packers lost that game. But you saw the flashes there from Matthew Golden. And he's going to take a big step. Jaden Reed is a very good receiver. Before he broke his collarbone last year, he was off to a really good start already. The first 2 games had a really good start and came back and still finished the season. He ended up getting out because he had an ankle injury that, not ankle, foot. He had a foot injury that took him out for the rest of the year. But I think the receiving core as a whole is going to be in a really good spot. I'm happy with the way the receiver room's moving. I like this kind of, you have your 3 primary guys and then you have support pieces around them. If you look at the history of just how the Packers teams that have succeeded in the past were constructed, it was kind of like that. The 2010 team, you had 3 guys and you had support characters around that. And the Packers have shifted that for Jordan Love. Hopefully these guys are Jordan's Devontae, Jordy, Randall Cobb mix.
Yep.
Hopefully we have that for Jordan Love moving forward in the future. But obviously you'll need some of those guys on occasion to step in and have big games. With that, a guy that I think needs to have a decent offseason heading into training camp this year is Bo Melton. We kind of talked about this before we started recording, but Bo Melton has shown that he has the ability to have big games. We talked about the Minnesota game before we came on. In the Bears, against the Bears, he had a big touchdown catch running that deep over route and scored on it. I think Bo Melton can add to this offense at receiver. Obviously, they were playing with him at receiver and corner last year. I'm probably on this Bo Melton hype train because I watched an Instagram video of him the other day, and he looked like he was really working hard at receiver. It got me a little. These Instagram videos get me, man.
They
I
get
swear.
you, man.
These training
That's how
videos,
Rashawn Gary got a contract with us. He's looking good
these
on
videos,
Instagram.
dude. Shout out to these editors on these videos. Whoever goes and records with receivers in particular. If you go and record with receivers for some reason, you raise receiver stocks. So shout out to you.
You do.
Because I just saw Romeo Dobbs one. I've never seen Romeo Dobbs have so much character until I saw he posted one yesterday on his Instagram page, and he was talking. Romeo Dobbs was talking.
Oh, I'm
going
gonna have to go look at this. I'm gonna have to go watch this.
Who is this guy? Who is this version of Romeo? He was streaming on Twitch playing COD. I was like, where's this Romeo Dobbs been?
He's like, I got $80 million. I'm letting it show now.
Yeah, he's completely different. But Bo Melton, I think, could be a support piece for the offense. I know you have a different receiver in mind who you think can add to this offense heading into the season. Who did you talk about before we started recording?
So I love Bo Melton. I got nothing against Bo Melton. I think Bo Melton's great. But for the same, the same moniker, I think the Packers have seen everything that Bo Melton can do at his shelf. Like, he's made huge plays for the Green Bay Packers over the
Yeah.
years. That's undeniable. But when you have another guy in the room who was a former third-round pick that's 6'4", 225 pounds, and if he can learn how to run a route tree, I want that guy, and that guy's Savion Williams.
Yeah.
You know, he caught all 10 of his passes last year. 9 of them were like behind, you know, in the backfield, and that's fine. But if he can just get, you know, 4 or 5 of the routes out of the route tree and be able to execute down the field and turn them into a perennial wide receiver, I mean, we're talking about a guy that can be very, very good with the upside that blows Bo Melton out of the water. I love Bo. I think he's going to be an all-pro special teamer. But when it comes to what he's going to offer us on the offensive side, the last thing we're worried about is wide receivers. But if we're looking at that 4th, 5th, 6th role, Sky Moore is going to be in that conversation as well. But I think Savion Williams needs to have a great training camp playing wide receiver, not playing gadget, jet sweep, or, you know, wildcat quarter receiver. I need him to be a receiver. I need him to learn those route trees. Because we saw it against the Giants. He got up there on that need to have it. I think it was a 4th down. Might have been 3rd down, but it was like
3rd down.
But he elevated, and I was like, "Ooh, if we can add that, I'll give me some more of that. Let's figure this out." And we got a new wide receivers coach, so maybe that can take that next step forward. You know, former guy that coached Christian Watson back at North Dakota State.
Yeah, I'm with you. I could see Savion Williams being a receiver that, if he continues to work at his craft in route running in particular, he has physical tools. He has the ability. Just don't fumble the ball, please. Let's protect the football. Let's preach ball security with Savion. But down the field, at his size and at his speed, he's a threat. He's almost like another Christian Watson on the football field, a big-bodied guy that could go down the field and make contested catches. That's huge to add to this offense. And
or just don't want to drag. Get him the ball quickly on a over drag. Get him matched up on a linebacker. Yeah, because he's just as big as that linebacker, and he's probably faster.
He's faster.
So it's like let's do forward handoffs for Savion Williams. Forward handoffs to him. No more bubbles or jet sweeps. Let's get him, 3-4 yards down the field in a mismatch, because if he's on a slot corner, that's a mismatch because he's bigger. If he's on a linebacker, it's a mismatch because most likely he's faster, unless you're one of these phenoms right now playing linebacker.
Yeah, I agree. I think he can add to this offense. Luckily, the Packers are in a spot this year where it's not as much wide receiver by committee, and you kind of know who the guys are. So Bo Melton and Savion are 2 guys that can just add to this offense at that point. You're not dependent on them as much as you had in the past because you're rotating guys in constantly the past few years with this wide receiver by committee. You kind of know who your guys are. Now Bo can come in and make a play for you every now and then, or Savion can come in and make a play for you every now and then. But if they have a big camp and they start to show that, we can make a lot of plays for you, actually.
Yeah.
It gives Matt LaFleur the confidence to give the ball to Jordan Love even more, which we know that's a huge issue that the Packers seem to have. And I don't know what the problem with it is. Matt LaFleur likes to run the football. That's one. He likes to run the football.
Yuck.
And I'm not against that, but sometimes your team isn't best suited to run the football all the time. And you have an elite quarterback back there who, for some reason, single-handedly has the worst PR out of any quarterback in
Everybody
the
hates
NFL.
Love. Nobody loves Love anymore. Like,
he got booed at the World Cup game a couple of days ago.
Yeah, they need to calm down. There's no such thing as a Rams fan. All right, y'all got bigger problems in LA than booing Jordan Love.
They're mad because he's given them the belt a few times since he's been a starting quarterback. That's what their issue is, and he tends to win in SoFi. Being a California kid, he plays good there. But
LaFleur loves playing the Rams.
Matt needs to let Jordan throw the ball more. And I get there had been concerns early in his career with him turning the ball over. But since 2023, 3 quarterbacks have 80-plus passing touchdowns and less than 30 interceptions. Matthew Stafford, Lamar Jackson, and Jordan Love are the only 3 with that stat.
He's doing that and we want more. And we don't feel like it's enough. That's the thing.
Yeah,
he's in
we
these
know
elite
that
tiers.
There's the ceiling. The ceiling is way higher than people realize it is. Jordan Love's definitely an MVP level quarterback if you give him the same production and the same opportunities that these Matthew Staffords get. I'm not saying now Matthew Stafford throws the ball a lot. Okay, I'm not saying you need to go full on Matthew Stafford where you're slinging the pill 50 times a game, but there's no reason Jordan shouldn't be pushing 30 attempts a game. There's no
I think
reason why he should throw the ball
35 is like
less
the
than that.
sweet spot. Anything more than that is something's wrong with the entirety of how the game's going. Like 35 to 38 is like, for me, it's my sweet spot there. But I think that's a great point you bring up, too. But to get back to Bo, like I love Bo. And like when he got hurt in that Bears wildcard game, that's the reason they got all that yards in special teams. Like he is such a good gunner on the punt team.
Yeah.
And it's like that's where he's important. That is like where he makes his money. Is just like he could be our Matthew Slater that was with the Patriots forever. That was getting all pro every year. Bo Melton's that good on special teams. So he can get, because he can break these coverages. He's always the first one down there. And with as many struggles as the Packers have in the special teams game, he is one diamond on a pile of shit. He's really good there. And I'm like, be a receiver when you're, rotation in midway during the game. Get you 5-6 snaps on offense. But the where you're making your money, Bo Melton, is not in the receiver room. It's in special teams.
Yeah, I could see that, and I respect that. What other players are you thinking about that need to have a big training camp?
I mean, should we just, go ahead and go over this so we don't have to talk about it later? It's a kicker. It's Trace Mack. I mean, but what is good? Like, I think we need to define what a good training camp is for a kicker, because every day we're going to be seeing Rob Demoski and Matt Schneidman tweet out, kicker logs over the days and weeks. And it's like, we're going to talk about it every single day because we're a bunch of lunatics. But if he goes, let's say 70%, I would say that's good. If he goes 70%,
I'd say 70% is a win for the rookie kicker. We talked about it a little bit, but there's a lot of pressure on him, outside pressure, and it's not to his own fault, right? Like the Packers took the chance on him and drafted him because he was the best kicker in college last year. He joins the team. He can't help that. He comes into minicamp. He has some struggles early on. But I don't think people need to criticize him too much early on, because kicking in Green Bay is not the easiest place to kick. I think Packers fans have gotten too accustomed with seeing Mason Crosby do it for so many years. But what Mason did is not normal. Most kickers can't kick that well in Green Bay. And so there has to be some kind of a learning curve here for Trace Mack, who kicked down at Florida last year. This is a completely different scenario. And he said he grew up in the northern parts of the country, but the difference, there's a difference there once you just came out of college going to Green Bay to kick. Hopefully he's been kicking there a little more this offseason, so he's still getting used to the wind and being productive in that way. But, Brandon McMahon has essentially asked the team to leave. If you can release me after,
I would have paid him to leave.
I think the majority of Packers fans after that Bears game would have said, brother, you can exit stage left over here, because you single-handedly probably cost the game with your leg. The offense put you in positions just to make kicks, and you just could not do it. But Trace Mack can't control that. He can't help that the kicker room got a little thinner once he got drafted. But, I mean, he's going to have to grow into it. And like you said, 70% seems like a pretty good sweet spot for him.
Fair.
If he's able to come in and make 70% of his kicks in his first season, I think that's fine. I think fans will be upset if there's a lot of high pressure moments that he misses in. But at the same time, I think there's still a learning curve. You drafted this guy. You drafted him. So there's some real capital behind this kicker, and he's going to have the opportunity to grow. And I think the team will give him that. But 70% going into the season, I'd be fine with that.
I kind of, I just thought of this because, I'm a genius. And I think there is maybe some sort of ploy that Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst are pulling, where they drafted a kicker. And it's like, now we don't have to depend on this guy. So when we get closer to the red zone, we're going to be taking some more shots because we don't want to depend on a rookie kicker like they maybe fell backwards on with, we got a veteran kicker, Brandon McManus. He was doing pretty decent last year, was hurt. But, he had a decent time in Green Bay. But it's not something you can be like, oh, okay, we got the vet in this situation to go make it. Instead, we're either going for even more than we did last year, or we're going to be more aggressive once we cross that 50, because this kid does have a good leg. But
for sure,
it's maybe there's some lane that Matt's like, yeah, this is a good idea because it's maybe going to force my hand, make me have to look in the mirror this offseason by rewatching all the tape, or I need to be more aggressive in these certain situations to go get it instead of a run on 3rd and 2, and now we're kicking a field goal. Maybe let's get a pass going. Maybe we just accelerate the offense and put more pressure on Jordan Love, who needs it. number one, who can take it and who needs it. That's why you just shift the pressure from where it was at Brandon McManus and just turn it and give it to Jordan Love. And he's like, hey, stick with me, kid. I'll get you far. Like, let's go.
That's actually a really good angle I never thought about, because if you go back to some early points in LaFleur's coaching career, and going back, I think it's the NFC Championship game with Aaron, where LaFleur decided to kick the field goal at the end of that NFC Championship game versus keeping the ball in Aaron's hands. And then obviously the game was over after that. Like, there's nothing left to do if your defense doesn't get a quick stop, right? I think LaFleur's kind of mindset on going forward and being more aggressive is probably shifting, because especially last year, Jordan Love was very clutch, extremely clutch under pressure, whether it's the Thanksgiving game against the Lions, or even, and this is a game where you could dispute clutchness, but Jordan Love put up 40 points against the Cowboys. And the Cowboys roared back and kept their foot on the Packers' back, pretty much saying, hey, you are going to have to respond with points because we're going to score. And Jordan Love every single time stepped up and delivered big time throw after big time throw, even to the point at the end of overtime where people said we're critiquing what happened at the end of overtime and how he handled it. But at the same time, without Jordan Love playing as well under pressure as he did, the Packers wouldn't have been in a position to at least kick the field goal to tie that game. So hopefully LaFleur saw that Jordan was there. He was, and even in the Bears playoff game, they go down. Jordan hits Jayden Reed in the face mask pretty much, and Jayden Reed drops the ball. He put a perfect ball on him, and he dropped it. Jordan Love ripped the throw to Christian Watson on the dig right behind the backer.
Yeah,
Christian Watson just wasn't looking for it.
He was right in that first window. That ball should have been ripped in that first window. He was wide open in that first one. But then you still, you don't throttle down when you're when it's last play of the game. You don't throttle down going into the second. And Christian's talked about it. He's like, yeah, that's on me. But it's like, take the accountability for it there. But to go back to the aggressiveness here is because you look back at let's look at the three worst throws Jordan Love had all last season. The first one against the Browns, pick six.
Yeah, for sure.
That's on him. That's bad.
Bad throw.
The pick against the Panthers, that deep ball. I like you taking a chance. You don't need it there. And then what does this has to? Does it again, but this time it's a completion.
What that game was windy too, I believe. I think it was extra windy in that game.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of things that, but again, that game's not on Jordan Love either. He did throw that interception, but they should have been winning if Savion Williams doesn't fumble. But also why we're running this gimmick ass shit on goal-to-go situations. Again, let's be better than that. And then the last one's that pick against the Bengals early, but then he falls through his back. Every other game you look at from Jordan Love, he just didn't throw bad throws that resulted in negative. There's probably a couple that were broken up, but that's a net negative or net zero. Nothing came from it. But you can point all of these different losses at one guy, and that guy's Matt LaFleur, on what he did in key situations, like in the wild card game. I mean, he could do whatever he wanted to in that first half. And he did that a lot this entire year, being up by 10.
That's his best coaching half of his career almost.
Yeah.
Just the way that he drew up.
I would put it up there with the wild card game against the Cowboys too. He was cooking. He was cooking those games. But it's just you can point it to him. Part of it to me is his tempo in the game. We're snapping the ball with 2 seconds left. And there's net positives and net negatives to those things. You're keeping the defense off the field, but you're also opening up opportunity on the defense for them to, jump the snap, know exactly what timing is. You can't really check out of a play. And I think that one thing that Jordan Love needs to do better at, or it's not even need to do better at, he just needs to get the keys to, is when it's at third down and the second play call is a run and he cans to it. No, fuck that. We're throwing the ball instead of just stick. And I know he loves a relationship with Matt LaFleur and he trusts him, and that's great. But also, this shit ain't gonna work. If I'm saying at home, if we're on our couches and we're like, can. Oh, yep, this is not gonna work. Jordan Love, who is a lot smarter than us at football, should be able to say, no, coach. Boom. Just like he did against the Cardinals. I'm not coming off the field. I need that to step up. And maybe he needs to get a little bit of an ego. And maybe, start not being the nice guy to everybody.
That's it. Jordan Love is the nice guy. And I think so I think the late snap counts in particular is probably something he picked up from Aaron.
I think
Aaron,
it's a Matt LaFleur special, though. I think it's a special from him.
It's you wait until the last second to try to get the very last look that the defense is going to give you pre-snap to try to get as much information out of it. But like you said, there's a negative to it because at that point you're stuck. No matter what you do, the play is the play. You have to go with it. So there's definitely a downside to that. But I'm with you. Like Jordan, develop a little bit of the Aaron Rodgers ego.
Just give me a little asshole. Like, just a little bit.
I'm not doing that. No, we're going to run this play, and I'm going to make it work. We're going to find a way to make this play work against whatever defense is being shown to me on the other side. So maybe we need to put Jordan Love on this list for players heading into the season. Need to have a good training camp, not because necessarily Jordan feels this pressure. He didn't play well. Like Jordan Love had his best. Yeah. Even though statistics weren't necessarily the best of his career, but playing wise and what he did on the field when he was playing, by far the best season of his career. I think Jordan could be on this list of players that we're talking about, though, because there's kind of there needs to be some kind of continuity with this offense, right? We just said they're kind of going through some changes. There's some changes at the receiver room, running back room. We're still hoping that we can hope that it's going to be stable. But Jordan Love is the constant in the offense and needs to be that leader and that voice on the offensive side of the ball that pushes this offense to be better. So maybe Jordan Love could be on this list for us.
I think I think this is a good conversation for him because he needs to continue to get the best out of every player on the field that he's with. He needs to continue. Yeah. That's a year in and year out deal because it's going to be different guys every year. He needs to expect to have whoever it is, whether it's a practice, scrimmage, 7-on-7, or an NFL game, he's expecting greatness and not settling for anything else, just being that team leader. I think he's done that in the years past, but it's a year because it's a new year. You sign up to do this again. Let's go. You want to expect the best out of everybody. And maybe that comes with a little bit of Aaron Rodgers in him, a little bit more of.
You're a little abrasive. It happens.
You want to win.
I forgot what game was that last year that and that's the first. One thing we talked about this before, but the first time where I'd ever seen Jordan Love visibly upset at somebody on the sideline, it happened last year. It's like, wait, Jordan has that side to him. Maybe we don't see it on game days, and maybe it happens in practice behind the scenes. But Jordan Love seemed to finally develop some kind of abrasive. It's like, dude, you have to be here when I'm expecting you to be there, because if not, the offense is not going to work. And maybe going into this season, he still has that good side off the field where, like, I have a good enough relationship with these guys. Yeah. I expect, because we've been together for so long now, I expect you to know where you need to be. You have to be in that spot. And if not, I'm going to rip you a new one because you're making me look bad as the quarterback. People are, what is he doing? Well, if you look at the play, my guy wasn't where he was supposed to be. And now I have to sit here and pat the ball in extra time. Now there's a rush in my face with how the offensive line has struggled in the past.
Yeah, what makes him different is he's going to rip you when the cameras aren't watching you, or they might glance over, but when it's brought up, he's going to take every ounce of accountability that it was his fault on that, just to protect his own guys. But I think he'll do that. But I think that's the one thing. I don't need him getting better. His footwork, he's throwing off a back foot is just part of his game. His footwork is what it is. Like, whoever keeps, getting agonizing about it and playing off platform, he's fine. It's part of his game. It's just what makes him comfortable when everything's breaking down. And guess what? He still delivers. So move on to the next narrative you guys have about whatever his footwork drama is, because he can, even on platform, he rips them too. But whatever, my bad. Go ahead.
No, you're right though. Like, Jordan Love's footwork kind of is what it is at this point. It's just how he plays quarterback. It's not like the most textbook quarterback play, but it works very well. And he gets away with it because his arm talent is just that special.
He's so comfortable too, because he doesn't practice. He doesn't in practice. He makes all these crazy throws in practice, and that would give him confidence to do it in the game. And he plays free. Like, he's never tensed. There's never like all the world's colliding on him, because he trusts his body to do everything that he wants to do. And there's, if he was like another quarterback in our division that had some 50% completion rating and all these other, bad things going on, maybe I'd have more conversation about it. But dude has been balling out. He's a top of every category, top-ish in every category. I got
top 10 easily in the majority of every statistic.
Jordan Love, what he needs to do better. No. He's balling.
Yeah, he's played extremely well, and people don't give him enough credit for that. A group that we know and Packers fans know that needs to play better going into this offseason and training camp. See, initially I had a lot of individual names on this list. And instead of doing individual names, we're going to say a group as a whole that needs to get better. And that's the offensive line. The offensive line is in a very interesting spot because we have Jordan Morgan playing left tackle back where he's extremely comfortable, where he played all of his college career. He knows how to play left tackle. We have Sean Ryan, who signed an extension at center. We have Anthony Belton at right guard. We have Aaron Banks, who struggled with injuries last year off of a big contract at left guard. And then right tackle, we have Zach Tom, who's coming back off the patella injury. And then you draft Yeager Burton, who looks like a pretty good football player from everything that we've seen so far. So the offensive line's in a weird spot because we know they didn't play well last season. But my thought process behind it was, especially with the offensive line, with it being one of the most cohesive units, if not outside of the secondary, I don't know a unit that has to be more in tune with each other than the offensive line. Another season under the belt and them growing together. I was hoping that going into the season, they gel better. Everyone's at their position and playing well. But we know that because we had injury issues last year, especially with Aaron Banks, and now you bring in Yeager Burton, who can play center. You kick Sean Ryan over to guard if you ever have to. There's some pieces that can be moved around, and this offensive line can still work. Eddie, what are your thoughts on the offensive line heading to the season?
It's better than what people are just, petrified for.
Agreed.
Jordan Morgan's a left tackle. He's barely gotten to play left tackle. And when he has played left tackle, it's been fine. He's not been the issue out there at left tackle or really any position, but he's had to play them all. So I'm very comfortable with Jordan Morgan. It's just going to be probably a little rocky early on just because, he's got to get his feet under him on these like live contacts in and out every week. But once he gets rolling, I think he's going to be fine. It's his natural position. Who would have thought? Hey, by week 3, we're going to be like, Jordan Morgan's playing great. Oh, yeah, it's his natural position. Makes sense. Banks, he looked better when he was healthy. If he can just stay healthy and he doesn't have, a back injury the first day of pads, we're trending in the right direction. But there's even, Good even has those, trademarks in the back where it is. If he needs to put another guard there, he can move him in there. Sean Ryan is the most interesting one because it's really like he can make it out to be a 1-year deal. Yeager Burton's been playing really damn well. It's like, where kind of they go with that there. I think that'll be a really good competition that if there is a guard that comes out, he can fit right in, if not win the job. I mean, there shouldn't be nobody on this offensive line except for Zach Tom should have like a guaranteed spot. Like
No.
We started there. Nobody should. But I'm really excited about Anthony Belton. I talked about him on my show a couple weeks ago, if not last week. It was one of them days. That I'm very impressed with how he was able to drop from 360. That is just not a guard. Any part of the offensive line should be playing at that big of a size, down to right around 330, where he's able to move more. Because he's already got the hardest thing that it takes for guards to learn, which is that sense of mauling another player. He already has that. If he gets a full off season to learn technique instead of being waterboarded like these rookies get, going from their last game to combine to the draft, they don't ever get any time to learn anything new. So I give him a full season. I think he's going to be a much, much better player. And, you got Zach Tom out there at right tackle. I think this could, if they're like a 13th best offensive line, we're going to be a really good football team. Like they don't need to be the best of the best as in years past. They need to be average. If they're average, they're going to be fine. If they're average and healthy, the depth behind these guys, that's scary. That's scary.
Oh, we'll bring in Darian Kennard. Don't worry. We'll bring in our swing tackle if we ever have to.
That's our third tight end, brother. He got a pass reception.
Hey, he was moving, wasn't he? Moving with the ball, dude.
I was laughing, but I knew bad things were about to happen when he had the ball. I was like, oh boy, we're about to lose this game right now because of this. This feels like some Matt LaFleur playoff shit right here, if I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
But what's your thoughts on the offensive line and kind of the motioning of everything and it coming together? Because you are right. They need to be the most cohesive team. There is no other position because these guys don't rotate. Every other position outside of this guy and the quarterback, they don't interchange. Oh, Matt LaFleur's done it a few times in years past. But when you have your preferred 5 out there, nobody coming off the field on a 14-play drive.
No, yeah, I think you brought up a good point about Anthony Belton. He has the nasty streak to him, and that's something that you have to have if you're going to be a good guard. And I think that's something that probably gets Matt LaFleur a little perked up because we know Matt LaFleur likes to run the football. He likes to run the ball, and in order to run the ball, you need linemen that have a nasty streak about them. They have to be willing to go put a defensive lineman on their butt and flatten people to make room for running backs to have lanes to run through. I'm super high on Anthony Belton this year too. I think he has all the physical tools to be a really good lineman, and you give him another year of learning and the continuity, and I could see him having a big year. Zach Tom, off of the injury, we knew that he was our best lineman last year by far. Zach Tom is an All-Pro level right tackle easily. It's just the injuries throughout the year were piling up, and you can see he was battling through them to stay out on the field until it got to the point in the Broncos game where it was like, all right, I really can't go. Like, this is it. I can't play anymore. And there were some issues on the offensive line after that, but you get Zach Tom healthy. Hopefully he bounces back to 100%. Everything sounds good. I think Goody was asked around draft time about Zach Tom, and he spoke very highly of him. So I'm thinking he's at a good spot heading into the season. The other parts of the offensive line, I'm not that concerned about either. There are some question marks with Aaron Banks. Again, we're hoping he stays healthy. That's a huge piece of it. But if he's not, I think the pieces are there to where you can kick Sean Ryan over, and then you have a new center that can play there. Left tackle, Jordan Morgan, like you said, it's his natural position. He should be able to excel really well at that spot.
He backed up Zach Tom when he went out. Nobody said that this is Jordan Morgan playing right tackle was so bad. Like,
no, it didn't stick out like a sore thumb that he was out there at tackle. He has the athleticism, the agility to play tackle.
He'll be fine.
That's needed.
People below the offensive line struggles through the roof because we're used to having some of, if not the best offensive line for the last like 12, 15 years, where they're like, that's one position you don't have to worry about because you got David Bakhtiari out there that just doesn't allow anything. But it's just
you got a TJ Lang all offensive line.
you cannot expect David Bakhtiari in Jordan Morgan, at least not yet. Let him play left tackle.
Bakhtiari developed into that player that he was.
Exactly. Give him time. Relax.
Give him time, and like you said, there's probably some kind of a not necessarily. There's not a learning curve, right? Because he's played the position.
Yeah.
But him getting his feet back under him at left tackle, because he's going to be going against the premier of premier edge rushers at left tackle. We know that. He's protected Jordan Love's backside. He's going to be able to do it. It might take a little time for him to get used to it again fully, but he's going to play well at that position. The offensive line shouldn't be that big of an issue. My point in bringing that up was that pretty much was, yes, there are question marks, but it shouldn't be as big of an issue as it's been made out to be, in my opinion. The pieces are there, and these guys can play. These guys are more than capable of playing.
They need to be great at becoming cohesive with each other.
That's all it is.
They need to become a solidified group all together where it is like it all works. You're not getting scared of stunts or different games or bull rushes. And for Jordan Morgan, he agree. Like he is going to be going against Micah Parsons in the practice, not only but against Myles Garrett and some of these other premier guys. But that's a it's easy for my dumb ass to say. But it's like what Zach Tom said before he got injured, talking about Myles Garrett. He's like, I'm looking forward to that matchup. I want that matchup. You can't be Rasheed Walker scared of that matchup. As he played, he was clearly
Jordan run.
Yeah, and it's like you need to take that on as a mission because Myles Garrett, best player in football, obviously, just because he just changes the game so much. But Matt LaFleur does a really good job at taking those players out of the game when the offensive line works with them. You look back at that wild card game against the Cowboys. Parsons was there, but he wasn't, taking over the game like they wanted to.
Yeah,
and they were kind of doing that, starting to against the Browns, but then Myles Garrett saw that Rasheed Walker, was pissing his pants and went right after him. But I agree. They just need to if they take anything out of training camp, not just like their play and everything, being like going into week one as a fully cohesive unit where they're operating at a high level.
Yeah. Another player that we're both bullish on, Javon Bullard. Javon Bullard headed into this season. Huge. We talked about the back ends of a secondary, so the safety group of a secondary, and I can't name one that has three safeties that could play at a high level like the Packers have. There are some secondaries have two really good safeties, but
Seattle
the
got
Packers
close.
are yeah. Nicky Manwari is a beast.
Yeah.
Fun to watch play football. But the Packers have Javon Bullard, Evan Williams, and Xavier McKinney, obviously. And Javon Bullard is the guy that I want to highlight here in particular because last season his effectiveness against the run was fun to watch. The way he blew up any short, quick game, also fun to watch. Comes up and makes plays on the ball as a safety, and I love to see that. And I think he's going to continue to take another step forward here this year. And this Hafley defense, I know you've been very big on seeing, not Hafley, I'm sorry, on this Gannon defense, but I know you've been speaking highly about how he could be inserted in some of these Gannon schemes. What do you see from Javon Bullard heading into the season?
I think he is going to play the biggest role on that defense outside of Micah Parsons. If Gannon does what I think he's going to do, looking back at last year's Cardinals team, obviously he wasn't the defensive coordinator, but head coach has, they're going to develop everything around what their head coaching is. And if they use that 3 high safety look that I hopefully will use, not like 100% of the time, but it's just in the need to have it and just putting Bullard in positions because he's not great in man coverage. He's not particularly great in zone, but when you can play these different multiple sets where you just let Javon Bullard play in space, and Hafley did that plenty of times last year, where you just like, hey, you just feel the game over here. Like, just go over here on this left, the hash to the sideline, and just go play football. He's played out of his mind because he's not thinking. And when football players like Javon Bullard don't have to think, they can just go play. Oh my God! It's just, you can see it night and day. You saw it against Minnesota. I think it was that Minnesota game where he jumped that screen and it hit him in his back because he's not thinking.
No,
he's just going. He's like, "Oh shit! I should have caught that. Probably.
Yeah,
I was going to kill this guy." So it's like I prefer that. And he's an overall just. I might buy a Javon Bullard jersey. Never going to wear it, but just so I can give him a little contribution because I appreciate him so much.
Yeah, he's a great player to watch play football, and like you've been big on talking about the Gannon defense with him. But I think I mean, if I'm looking at players and who he can play like, Budda Baker's one of the best safeties in football, and he has the same kind of build as a Budda Baker. So I'm ready to see how Gannon uses him as a chess piece in this defense because he can be moved around and used in so many different ways. You can get him close to the line of scrimmage. He can blitz. If you want him to blitz, he can blitz. He can come up and make plays at the line of scrimmage. And I love when DBs in particular are willing to tackle. And that's something that all 3 Packers safeties do well, is that all 3 of them love to tackle. They make plays out in the open space. And Javon Bullard in particular can be used that way by Gannon.
He'll be an all-pro if he gets 3 or 4 interceptions. He'll be an all-pro.
I think that's the thing about it too. That's the crazy part is the 3 safeties that the Packers have all have all-pro potential. I have an Eagles fan friend who came to me and said, "Hey man, can you trade me Evan Williams?" I'm like, "No, I can't trade you Evan Williams because that is a bona fide future first-team all-pro kind of guy."
And you could really put Evan Williams and Javon Bullard in like the same as one because they can transform. Because Evan Williams is fantastic in coming down against the run. Like he understands gap and leverage so well. My favorite clip is going back and watching that Eagles game from last year where he just slits right through the gap, one-on-one Saquon Barkley, pick you up, put you down, negative 3-yard run. And it's like he has that ability. So it's like they could really transform and use those 2 pieces all over the field and come up with some real mad scientist shit that just excites me. Now, I am fully aware that will probably not happen. I'm probably going to be disappointed because I'm excited about it, but there's just so much in it. Just think that the one thing Jonathan Gannon cannot allow himself to do is what Hafley did about halfway through the season when Micah Parsons was being Micah Parsons and just he's on the field. We don't need a blitz. No, you just continue. Because why not help one of the second best pass rusher in the league by giving different looks? He was doing it early and mixing it in. But I think the one struggle Hafley had is he already had his defense built, and then you bring in Micah Parsons, and it kind of gets a little weird. But I think, man, because you could have Bullard playing in that double mug up close and bailing out. Yeah. There is just so much you can do because he's a football player. He's not a safety. Yeah. He's not a nickel. He's a football player. And you just put him around just like Budda Baker, just light him up and just say, go have fun.
Yeah, go play football.
Yeah, because he's a position where nothing really he can really make mistakes on unless you put him in man coverage, which is just don't.
Don't do that. Don't do that in the first place.
Yeah, just don't do that because he's not a corner. He's not anything. He's a ball player. But he I think he just draws the most excitement because he's a Swiss Army knife for that defense, and we are so lucky to have a guy like that who is, was drafted in a safety needs class, but then continued to play at such a high level, even when he was, because he started that rookie year, he started, and then Evan Williams was, came in, played well. And then you kind of like, what am I doing with Javon Bullard? And then you just put him on the field. Just put him on the field, let him play football, because every game he brings a level of attitude to it. Like there is like some asshole hatred in his heart from something that he just wants to go unleash it on the football field. I'm like, oh, I can't wait for a Netflix documentary about you, bro. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
Like you said, when he was drafted, obviously he was drafted with Evan Williams, and it got to a point where it's like both of these guys are too good to not have them on the football field together. Like they both make such a difference when they're out there playing. And like you said, Javon Bullard is just aggressive. He's aggressive with how he plays football. And we've talked about it in the past on previous shows that we've done. But that's what this team has seemingly lacked. And a few of these, probably since Aaron's been gone, this team just hasn't had anyone that was super aggressive and mean out on the football field and wants to make big plays. But now you have some guys out there that are like, no, we want to hunt. And that seems to be a thought process of the defense in particular. You have Micah, who's obviously a hunter. Micah's going to hunt. And then Edgerrin Cooper flies around, hunts the ball. You bring in Zaire Franklin, comes in, hunts the ball. So we're looking at a defense that's going to be a lot more aggressive, I think, this year than they had been. And hopefully with more pressure packages and things like that they make more plays. Javon Hargrave's there in the middle of the defensive line now. Like there's a lot to look forward to in totality of this defense. But we know Javon Bullard is a person that can make plays. Yeah. Speaking of the middle of the defense, somebody the Packers missed a lot last year and who I think was on a very good trajectory and showing people that he is a very good defensive tackle in the NFL, Devonte Wyatt. Devonte Wyatt's presence arguably was missed not as much as Micah, obviously, because Micah generated a lot of pressure single-handedly on his own. But after you lose Devonte Wyatt, that's a lot of production that's gone from the interior of that defensive line. And him coming back from injury this year, I think will be huge for this defensive line. You have a lot of pieces added to this defensive line. Chris McClellan, who came in, and I know they were in shorts and T-shirts and helmets.
You can't teach
but
size.
Even then, and he can move. He can move in the middle of the defense. Now you have a lot of pieces in the interior of that defensive line. And Devonte Wyatt, I think, is going to come back this year, and people are going to say, oh, they still have this guy too. People forgot about him because you bring in Hargrave, you bring in McClellan. Still got Devonte Wyatt over here, who's a monster. And he was with a good training camp heading into the season. I think he's going to have a really good year coming up.
Yeah, I agree, because the run defense went out of the window when Devonte Wyatt was off the field. You look at the beginning of the year, because he suffered 2 injuries this past year. It started off, the run defense was great, it was great, and then he went off the field, and it kind of got lackluster. People were able to run on us because we didn't have in that Cleveland game, and Quinshon Judkins looked like a great running back.
Oh, that's probably his best game of the year.
Against us there, because I think it's his numbers. Like if you're a box score watcher, you're saying Devonte Wyatt's not important, and I couldn't even tell you one singular thing he does that's great that helps this run defense. But I know when he's on the field, it is so good. When he's off the field, it's so bad. And that's what his importance is to me, is the eye test for me. I saw when he was on the field, it was good. He was off the field, it was bad. And the 2 occasions I can point out to back up my statement is both games against the Lions, where Gibbs got nothing at all. Wyatt was on the field.
In my opinion, Gibbs is a top 3 running back in the NFL right now because of how dynamic he is. Gibbs scares me. Gibbs scares me every time the Packers play him because of how good he is.
But hey, the last 4 out of 5 times they played him, it's been very, very good. Because Devonte Wyatt's been on the field. Because he's been on the field. Now, not only Devonte Wyatt, but he plays like this role that just opens up gaps. And for years when we had Kenny Clark, it was like, the best we can do is Dean Lowry as help. That's the best
Yeah.
we got. And I
Yeah.
remember I was talking to Nagler after, the second day of trade deadline, and, Kenny was gone, and, we got Wyatt, and it's like, all right, we need to get Wyatt some help. And this is
Yeah.
the most help I think any defensive tackle the Packers have had that's been the star ever. Because you got him, you got Hargraves, and you got Chris McClellan. You got three guys that can continue to move and play in different stances because all three of them can rush the passer. Like, that is where Jonathan Gannon, because, again, a mad scientist, can keep three big guys on the field with Parsons, where these guys can stuff up the run and get to the passer. Like, it is insane that, like, White has that much help, and you're not asking him to any of these guys to play 30 or more snaps. You divvy it up between all of them, so they're all fresh. They're all on the field playing. It's really exciting for that interior defensive line because that's the one thing these Packers have been missing, even with Micah Parsons, is interior defensive pass rush.
Yeah, I think we'll see the impact that, and you talked kind of a little bit about if you look at the box score, you're like, what does he do? Like, why are you guys banging the drum for this Devontae Wyatt guy? But I think for me personally, my defensive tackles, if I'm not saying their name a lot, that's probably a good thing because that means they're keeping their gap integrity. They're not creating rushing lanes for running backs by putting themselves out of position. They're staying where they need to be, and then that allows the second level of defenders to come up and make the tackle, which they don't get any stat for by eating up the block in the way they need to eat the block. But because they're doing their job at the line of scrimmage, it allows the Edgerrin Coopers, the Zaire Franklins, the Isaiah McDuffies of the world to come through and make tackles. And obviously, that was missing once Devontae Wyatt got off the field.
Yeah, Edge missed
people getting out of position, people getting moved. We saw the defensive line getting pushed around at ease whenever Devontae Wyatt was.
We started picking
up
guys. Yeah, we got guys off the street with Jordan Riley and Quentin Bohanna.
Yeah,
two big guys. I think Riley played well. Unfortunately, tore his Achilles. But it's like you're going from a former first round pick to a guy that was eating Doritos, watching the game last Sunday, playing now. But they still did fine. But it's like when you get Wyatt back, and now you add a Super Bowl winner, Hargraves, that understands football, loves Gannon, understands the system,
and best season ever under Gannon.
And he can continue to teach this system because this Gannon system hasn't changed. But he can be that coach on the field for the defensive line, where it is like, let's set up these. You're in this gap because of here, or whenever they have to shift or play different stunts, we're not just doing this because we learn to practice. We have a subject matter expert on the defensive line with Javon Hargraves and Zaire Franklin. Both, and those two guys understand Gannon's defense so much. You got coaches on the field with those two guys. We're still young, but we're experienced, and we got coaches on the field.
Vets in the room, though.
Yep,
there's a lot more vets in the room than there were before. With Quay Walker being gone, you bring in Zaire Franklin. That's a vet being added to that linebacker room. You add in Javon Hargrave to this defensive line room, and I know a lot of people talked about it, but that Eagles team with Jonathan Gannon that went to the Super Bowl, all those defensive linemen on that line had career years under Jonathan Gannon in that defense. And those guys, with all due respect to them, had not had similar production seasons outside of the time that they were under Jonathan Gannon. So there's something that he's doing scheme-wise that allows them to have production at the defensive line and not just take up blocks and play well with their gap integrity, but they also are able to make plays underneath that defense. And Devontae Wyatt should be in a spot this year where he could go make some plays. Not only is he taking up blocks, but he's going and creating TFLs. He's back there getting sacks. Chris McClellan comes in when he's rotating in for Hargrave and these guys, and he's also coming in and being able to make plays. Zaire Franklin at the second level's flying around. Isaiah McDuffie, who played under Hafley in college, but comes into the NFL, played pretty well. I mean, just got an extension today, but still, he's able to come in and make an even bigger impact that he was able to before. There's a lot to look forward to with the front seven of this defense, and Gannon's going to unlock some stuff in this defense I'm super excited about. And hopefully, as long as he has a great season and great seasons to come, that he can be Steve Spagnuolo and just kind of hang around.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Stay here in DC. You don't need to go be a head coach anywhere else. It didn't go great for you last time. Just stay here and be a DC. You love defense. Focus on the defense. Let LaFleur run the offense. And you guys could just be a dynamic duo at coaching for the Packers.
Yeah, well, the thing about Jonathan Gannon's defense is it's not a scheme that like wins them football games. And he gave us the answer in his first press conference. It's Jimmy's and Joe's, not X's and O's. He's so good at putting players in the right position to get the absolute most out of them. That is what excites me, is the different ways, because he's like, I don't have a scheme. I do what I can with the players that I have. And he has so much different, multi-talented, different facets of like different guys can play. Like, and I really think that he's going to use a large part of this entire roster compared to what Hafley did. Like, one guy I want to quickly hit on with you is Tyron Hopper. I think there's in this defense, there's a lot for him to do in this defense. And that's why I was kind of like, Isaiah McDuffie. I mean, I know it's 1 year, $5 million, but it's like, why sign Isaiah McDuffie when you got Tyron Hopper on your roster? Like, for another year, because all Isaiah McDuffie is going to do, at least from what we've seen the last few years, is block Tyron Hopper from getting on the field. Unless Jonathan Gannon, a Jimmy's and Joe's guy, figures out a way to use Tyron Hopper in those situations. That's why I think we're going to have so much rotation, especially in that front seven where it's linebackers, edge rushers, down linemen. Like, there's going to be so much there because he's a Jimmy's and Joe's guys, and that really just what excites me there for him.
Yeah, now that you say Hopper's name, that makes me think about just the depth that this defense has right now. There's a lot of players that can get out and play in that front seven, which is a good problem to have.
Yep.
I'm super excited just about the defensive line in particular, because some of those edge rushers,
we're going to be surprised. We're going to be surprised.
That's what I'm thinking, is people don't see the names that they're like, these big household names on this defensive line. But once they start playing football, it's like, oh, this guy's good. This guy's also pretty good. Wait, this guy can make plays. And it's going to stick out to people because they don't watch the games per se. They're box score watchers. They're looking for big names.
You can't watch every game. You can't watch every game on Sundays and have an opinion on Monday. I get it.
Just don't speak about the Packers if you're not going to watch Packers games. So that's all I ask.
There was one name to speak on the depth that's been rumored around. He comes from your neck of the woods. He's a former Rock Hill, South Carolina guy, Jadeveon Clowney.
I'm good.
A lot of movement. Thank you. And I've been castrated, Anthony, for saying because you have so much invested in that room. I get, we need him for 7 games. It's like if I'm asking somebody to play 7 games, I'm asking the wrong questions.
Yeah, I'm
like
good.
Yeah, and there's so much in there you need, and it's like, who do you get rid of? And it's like, I see something in Colin Oliver. There's something there, and it's like, well, he's
Warren Brinson. There's a lot of people.
There's a lot there, and it's like you would have to get rid of one of those guys, and they're cheap labor. To add old man cheap labor, I don't know if that's the right decision to make. And if Connie was added. And somebody didn't get taken away, that I was like, you're missing it here. You're missing the point here. And I just don't think, because when you look at Goody bringing in these 30-year-old vets to include Benjamin St. Jude, Zaire Franklin, Javon Hargraves, those are guys that are filling an immediate need. Immediate need. You're not drafting a guy that come in and play third downs. You're not signing a guy, but I want to hit, because I know that it's one of your guys there. You're one of your South Carolina guys. From your city there. But I'm glad we got over that real easy.
We're on that one. No.
Easy.
Thank you, Jadeveon, for putting Rock Hill, South Carolina on the map and being the number one draft
Gilmore.
He's still available too. He's gonna be well, he retired. He just retired.
Well, sorry about Stephon.
Stephon will be the first Hall of Famer from Rock Hill.
You think he's a Hall of Famer?
I think he is, just because he won DPOY at corner. I think
that's tough.
And that Super Bowl against the Rams, he made a huge play to save the game. Yep. Just that kind of stuff sticks in Hall of Fame voters' minds. It's like, oh wait, this guy was actually a difference maker.
How high is your highlights? And that's pretty damn high.
That's pretty high. DPOY at corner is that usually gets you a pretty good spot if you win DPOY.
Is there any other players you that in mind?
Or you want to? No, that's the list I have.
Did
you have anybody
hits?
else?
Yeah, I mean, just some quick hits on guys that that are just so obvious, like the Matthew Goldens, Brandon Ceesay's, Marshawn Lloyd's. Like those are like everybody knows. But One is Benjamin St. Juice. That's
your guy.
That's my guy, man. I don't know what it is because I hate Keyshawn Nixon.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
I don't hate him as a person. I think he's a great person. You can be a great person. I could still hate you on Sundays. You don't bring him in to not get him involved. You don't give him $10 million. You're not paying him double what Keyshawn Nixon's making to
play special teams.
To play special teams.
No. He has you're giving him a legit shot to play on the field.
You have to. But the thing is, he didn't practice in Manning camp and the training and OTAs. He wasn't doing anything. There's a lot of guys that weren't doing anything.
The entire team was sitting on the bench.
Basically, I want to see him do good enough to get a spot. Because I've seen enough of Keyshawn Nixon. I'm okay with Carrington Valentine starting on the other side.
Yeah,
he's a good corner that just can't tackle. That's his only flaw is he can't tackle.
Maybe Gannon can fire him up to be able to tackle, because tackling is something. It's real.
He just throws himself.
Just use your arms. Yeah. Use your arms when you go to make a tackle, and you will make the tackle.
It's simple. Just grab onto him and wait for Edgerrin Cooper to come.
That's
all you have to do. Just wait for Edgerrin Cooper to come.
Tackling is
because you look back when on these the low lights that he has, which is about 4 or 5 a year, where he just completely whiffs. It's not like he got his hands on him. He just throws his body. He just goes like piss missile, throw himself at him, guy. Not even anywhere close. If you can't tackle Jameson Williams in just right where he's not moving, we got a problem. Jameson Williams, great when he's moving. When he's not moving, you should be able to tackle that guy.
He's a wiry guy, but you should be able to bring down pretty easily.
And he just needs to talk more shit. That's all. He gets +5 to all his attributes when he starts talking shit.
He does. The Bengals
yapping,
game.
Yeah, when he's yapping,
they went away from
really
him.
Well. Yeah,
Jamar attacked him a few times, and then they realized, oh wait, this Carrington Valentine guy isn't the guy we should be attacking in coverage. Let's go over this number 25 on the other side of the field.
Yep.
And that's when the Bengals found success in that game.
Yeah, because Carrington Valentine's not a liability in the pass.
He's great. He's pretty good at coverage. He's not terrible in coverage. He's more than serviceable at corner. He just can't tackle. This is problem. So like you said, I'm okay with him
part of the game.
Corner.
I'm sure he's great at flag football.
Oh, beast. He's there.
He's all pro at flag.
Oh no, man. He might not be. The hands might not be able to work. I don't know. He might stink at flag too.
But if he can tackle,
that's an interesting one. Yeah. That's an interesting one because
huge. He's huge.
You love his frame. That's what you love the most about St. Juice, because he has the physical size to be really good at corner.
He's almost as big as me.
He tackles. He tackles in the open field. You say he's almost as big as you.
Almost. He's getting close.
Oh, he tackles in the open field.
He's healthy.
I don't see 10 million. I don't see 10 million to be a special teamer.
No, we didn't even pay the kicker that.
I don't see that.
We barely. No. I think we actually gave the kicker $10 million when we signed Brandon McMahon. I think it was like a $10 million deal. But you don't bring in a guy because he's not a gunner. He doesn't have the straight line speed to be on a kickoff team or even a punt team. It's just not part of his game. So I just think you got to find ways to get him on the field in different packages. Because that's my last guy, because it is starting to think people forget about Benjamin St. Juice being on this team because
he didn't
Brandon Cisse,
he went in minicamp.
Yeah, and Brandon Cisse, obviously being a second round pick, everybody gets excited about that. Because there's so much to digest and recap. It's hard to do it in a one sitting because the Packers did so much this offseason. It's just then we forgot about Danny Dennis Sutton.
Yeah. And that's another reason again why I'm a no on Jadeveon Clowney is because we got that guy.
We got that guy. Who needs a clown when you got a dentist?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That was a good one.
Did you like
kind of talked on this guy?
Yep.
We kind of talked on this guy a little bit, but the Isaiah McDuffie 1 year extension. What do you see McDuffie doing in this defense? Because it's obvious that the primary linebackers, the two primary linebackers that are going to play, are going to be Cooper and Franklin. Those will be your primary guys. But outside of that, you talked about Hopper being used, and then McDuffie just got this extension. Where do you see McDuffie fitting in on the defense now?
McDuffie's like Bo Melton to me. You know what you have in him. And he's a good special teamer. That's why he got like a 1-year deal with
That's what
$5
I was
million.
thinking.
But I don't think he's the answer for depth at the linebacker position moving forward, because there's games where he does play very, very well. But it's like he gets in space, it gets ugly. He's guarding somebody, it gets ugly.
Not good. Not
like
good when he's in coverage.
if I could keep him within the tackle box, he's probably pretty damn good. Like I think when one of those interceptions Evan Williams had, Isaiah McDuffie tipped the ball. I think that was it.
Yeah.
And like that's great, but it's like he doesn't have anything sexy about him. He ain't very big, he ain't very tall, he ain't very fast, but he's a good tackler. He's a really good tackler.
He gets to the ball.
He does. He plays football the right way. That's what you need guys like that on your football team too. Like he is a Band-Aid that would, go over a paper cut that a lot of teams have. He's not covering a bullet hole, but he'll cover like some paper cuts. Maybe, instead of getting stitches, you get, Band-Aid, and Isaiah McDuffie's that guy. But there's nothing that I think giving him that 1-year deal, $5 million. I mean, that's fine. You keep a good guy, a good leader in the locker room, a good team guy. And I think $5 million is worth a good locker room, good team guy. A guy you can depend on that he's not going to be out of position. He'll just athletically get beat. And that's not on. I mean, it is what it is. At least he was in the right position. He just Jahmyr Gibbs just ran away from him. It's one of those deals where he did everything right, but then Jamar Chase catches it and runs by him. And
I think that's similar to Quay Walker, Quay Walker just had the athleticism where he could get away with it at times.
Yeah. But Isaiah McDuffie will get off a guard though. Quay couldn't get off a guard.
Yeah,
Isaiah can get off a guard and a tackle, tight end. He can fight off those guys. Quay couldn't do that as good.
No.
So there's a roster spot for Isaiah McDuffie. I just don't like to think of him as a down and down linebacker. And if he plays the same amount of snaps on defense as he did in the last few years, I think it's a problem, because then what the hell are you doing with Isaiah Hopper? He's a 3rd-round pick. What are you doing with him? Are you just admitting it was a mistake and just gonna try and play him this year and then just move off of him? Like what's the plan for this guy? Because he has a knack for the ball. He just, every time he gets on the field, it's like he gets somewhere near the football. Unless it was that game against Minnesota, but everybody was a backup in that game, and
that game we weren't trying to win. So
I think it's a right move to keep a guy like that.
Majority of the game.
Not excited. I'm not over the moon about it, but it's like one of those, like, man, it makes sense.
You compared it to the Bo Melton. Like, he is like the Bo Melton of the defense, where it's like, yes, you are a very good glue guy for the defense.
Yeah.
And if we need to fall back on you ever, then you are more than capable of being able to do what we need you to do. But there are limitations in knowing what you do bring to the team at that position. That's a good comparison.
Yeah, he's not going to hurt us. He's not going to play out of position and hurt us. And he is a dependable, reliable, like, just a hammer. Like, he's a hammer. He just goes and just throws his nose into stuff, and it happens. Like, there's worse players than Isaiah McDuffie on a lot of rosters. I do. I mean, last year I had videos coming out on praising him because he plays so good. And there's times where he plays so good, but then when he's out of position or he gets, has a bad play, it's not because anything he did. He's just not the same athletic tier as these running backs and tight ends and receivers that he's having to guard. But in tackling, you can depend on that guy.
Yeah, you can use him there. Any other players that you want to hit on before we?
I think we kind of really hit it. I have a question for you. Does Luke Musgraves at what point does Luke Musgraves get traded?
You know what? That's a good question.
I don't think he makes it through training camp.
I was thinking about Luke Musgrave, and I started thinking about just tight end room in general.
Yeah,
obviously Tucker's coming back off of his ACL, and we think he's going to bounce back and be done.
He's going to be fine.
Josh Wiley,
love him.
Last year played really good football, and he fits what the Packers need at the tight end position better than Luke Musgrave does. And who would have thought that when Tucker, because I was huge, my 2 tight ends I was huge on in that tight end class were Dalton Kincaid and Luke Musgrave. Because I thought they were both very fast, and
it worked in that
tight
NFL
end position.
How the NFL
the way
changes.
the position's moving, I was like, yeah, that's what I want. One of those guys. And then Tucker Kraft stepped on the field, and it's like, wait, this George Kittle type could still very much survive in the NFL today.
Now it's thriving.
And
now it's thriving.
And it's like, wait, we kind of want that guy more than we want the fast, speedy guy.
Yep.
Because although the Bills have Dalton Kincaid, they still need the Dawson Knox on their offense to kind of balance that out. You still need that kind of bruising tight end.
Bills actually used Kincaid how he was supposed to be used, and the Packers just did not use Luke Musgrave. It doesn't also help that every time he touches the ball, he's on the ground like immediately. That doesn't help.
My point. It can't. It's not necessarily the Packers' fault that he isn't as competent of a receiver as he needs to be at his size.
Yeah.
You need to be able to run routes and catch the ball and stay on your feet when we get you the ball. You don't need to be falling over every time you get a reception.
Yeah, baby deer.
It's so weird too because
he reminds me like when he catches the ball, it's like Ricky Bobby after in that one commercial. He's like, I don't know what to do with my hands. He's like, I don't know what to do with my legs. Do I run? Do I fall? What do I do? I don't know what to do. It's like he's like every time he catches the ball, it's like the first time he ever caught the football. He's like, oh shit, I don't know what to do with this thing. I'm just gonna go to the ground. I'm just gonna fall. Because I remember I was like rewatching some highlights of like the Broncos game last year. All I see him catch it, and he's just rolling. He's just rolling down and I'm like, oh my God, get up. And like when Matt LaFleur has to say that after a playoff game, Luke stayed on his feet. Like, come on.
And even then, he was wide open. I was scared he wasn't going to stay on his feet. Thought he'd trip over him or something.
But your Josh Whyle thing is perfect. I remember talking about him a week ago, and I was like, he was so perfect for what Matt LaFleur and the Green Bay Packers asked him to do. He was never going to be something, but he was, because I remember seeing his progression because there was one play he was supposed to chip the end and then get out, and he missed it. But then the next time I saw him do it, he was all over, and I was like, coachable. You don't have to be the best player in the world, but if you're coachable, you could see the field. And Josh Whyle I put him over Luke Musgrave because he's the same style. And then I know there's another guy that was undrafted free agent somewhere that's on there that I think can get some real good playing time.
I know you're talking about. I can't think of him.
I think he maybe came out of Maryland or something. I don't know his name. I'm so out of the I'll learn the UDFAs when training camp comes.
Gotta know him then.
But I agree. I mean, that's the one thing there. Is there any surprise trades during training camp? Any surprise guys out the window?
Unless Luke's gone by then. I think they hold on to Luke at least the first couple of weeks of the season.
Yeah, until somebody gets hurt.
Just to make sure Tucker settles in, just to kind of make sure everything's fine. And then if you want to move him, you move him then. If not, he might be on the bench. So tight end 3.
Look at that play pass. Oh my God, that whole shoot.
That's what but I just see I don't want to see it, but it would make sense. Like and again, I'm going on record saying this. I do not want this to happen. But if a guy like Kyle Pitts got hurt, that would be an immediate trade to Atlanta.
You'll be looking for a tight end that can go and receive.
Yep.
I could get that. I could get that. Get out in the route. I could see that.
Don't want to see Kyle Pitts get hurt.
We don't want Kyle Pitts injuries, guys.
No team is coming. Yes. No team is going to come asking for Luke Musgraves. They're not because his style of play is just not in today's tight end world. It's not. No. It's blocking and yak yards. And Luke Musgrave cannot do
tight ends are like that.
And Luke just cannot do either. But that's all the players that I got off just thinking, that need to have, just good training camps, great training camps, from there. Because there's really nobody, there's nobody that played horrible that needs to have some rebound year. I think outside of Josh Jacobs that needs to really have that premier offseason.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Well, guys, thank you for listening to us talk for the past hour or so. Always fun, Eddie, having you on the channel. I appreciate you spending some time here. Y'all go subscribe to the Beers and Ball Show.
No, don't do it. Down South Packers.
To the Bills and I hope if you're listening to this, you're already subscribed to the Down South Packers podcast. So subscribe to me if you're not. If you're not, that's an issue. Go subscribe here.
Correct answer.
For sure. Number 2, you need to make sure that you're subscribed to the Beers and Ball Show.
I drank a beer.
It's great. What?
I drank another beer.
What? Eddie's good at what he does, man. He loves the Packers, loves football,
And I
loves
love
beer.
you, Anthony. I love you, brother.
Love you too, brother. Thank you for joining. Hey, thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. And as always, go Pack, go.